What I wanted to go over with you at the higher level is what we've done, what the county has done with their strategic plan and their strategic priorities, as well as just the culture and the purpose for why we exist. So here we put culture in the middle, and our mission is Pinal County protects and enhances citizens' quality of life by driving vitality and providing efficient, effective, needed services through talented, motivated employees. And I would say that the group that you see here sitting today is a fantastic group. The managers, supervisors, the staff that they have do a great job. I have been with the county for a long time, since 2009. I've worked in a lot of different areas, departments, and teams, and it's been a really good experience. We've done a lot of good things, and the type of people and type of teamwork that we have together is really, to me, something to be envied and something to be admired. So thank you to all of them, and thank you really to all the other elected officials as well. We've had a really good group. We work together well to accomplish our missions, and we collaborate more than, and from what I hear, we have people from other organizations that have been in place for a long time, and much more so than they see in a lot of other organizations they've been. And then the vision is we lead through flexibility and collaboration, and I inadvertently left out the word innovation, but innovation is in there as well, which result in vibrant, safe, well-developed communities. And then as a part of our culture development we went through as employees, we together, top management, supervisors, staff, went through and created these values together, and we defined them as well. So accountability, taking responsibility for our actions, commitment, all in, going above and beyond expectations, and teamwork, coordinated groups working together toward a common goal beyond our own personal ambitions. And so that's what we try to live by every day. And that's why I shouldn't have this clicker. I think the hold button takes you to the very end. There we go. All right, so it's pretty sensitive. There we go. All right. So these were the 5 strategic priorities that the board came up with. We've been through this process. We've had multiple iterations of this, starting back in 2011. This is the most recent one. They've evolved over time, but pretty similar to what we first came up with. So organizational excellence and effectiveness. Deputy County Manager Mary Ellen is going to talk about this, but I'll go ahead and just read it to you so you know what our statement of our priority is. We create a workplace culture cultivating motivated and successful employees who are proud to serve the citizens of Pinal County. We promote and develop secure technology solutions that enhance connectivity, create operational efficiencies, and provide easier access to county services and information. Oh, we'll stay here. I'll go through this the whole thing with you. Infrastructure and asset management. This is a really important one. I'm going to talk a little bit about it, but let me read it to you first. We provide safe, efficient, sustainable, cost-effective, and well-maintained infrastructure and transportation systems. We build, maintain, and manage capital assets to preserve long-term investment and ensure reliable services, like one of them being the facility we're in right now. What I did want to take a moment to talk about in this category is transportation and transportation funding. As you're all probably aware that Prop 469 failed, which was the original Prop 416 and 17. 416 was our regional transportation plan, 17 was the tax, 417 was a tax that was attached to it that was then therefore illegitimized by the Supreme Court. And then 469 was the replacement, which was voted down. So as you all know and experience, transportation and transportation maintenance is very important to us, affects our everyday life, whether it's the quality of the road that we're on or the capacity of the roads that we're on. We do have, if you're maybe not aware because it's a long-term one, but there is a half-cent road excise tax, we call it, that's different than the PRTA. And that's been in existence for almost 25 years now. That one expires at the end of calendar year 26. And so that one's about to go away unless the voters renew it. It's used a lot for maintenance and some for new construction projects. So the way that the state law reads is you can have a full cent max capacity for taxes on your roads that are specialized, I'm talking countywide, county perspective. Cities and towns, have their own charter rules and statutes that apply. But the state law caps countywide taxes at 1 cent. If we did both the PRTA at a ½ cent and we did the existing road tax and renewed it, that would be that full cent cap. And so what cities and towns and what the county is talking about now is how do we develop a cohesive... Thank you, Dana. Oh, okay. All right. I thought it was a bird audience that was really liking this part and was encouraging. But what we want to develop with you and what we want you to help us develop is a comprehensive plan around transportation and transportation funding. So what roads, what regional connectivity are the most important to you to the point that you're willing to pay for them? Because the general fund, although it can be used for general government purposes, typically funds the things that you see around the table. Public safety, the court system, and all the other functions that the county provides, which is pretty wide. Typically, the roads are funded by special revenues. Highway User Revenue Fund, HERF, gas tax, which, as many of you know, or some of you might not know, that tax has not been inflation adjusted and is not adjusted since 1991. And then on top of that, we're moving more toward electric vehicles. And so the state and our communities, we do have a challenge in front of us of how do we fund the road systems that we want to be on. So what we'd like to do is call it a grassroots effort if you want, but we'd like to have a lot of sessions, really connect with the communities to develop a unified regional transportation plan for both maintenance and for new construction, for the roads that are important to you, that help you get to where you need to go and help you get in and out of the communities when you need to neighboring communities faster, and with less headache, less traffic, less accidents. So that's something that we're going to need to work on in the next few years and bring something to you to vote on that you actually want. That would be our long-term goal with that. So that's the only one I'm going to get on the soapbox about. The others, I'll go ahead and just read to you what they are and let the rest of the team explain. So balanced and flexible growth. We develop and implement strategies to effectively address growth, sustainability, and livability of our dynamic county. A lot of that we refer to as community development. And then enhance economic vitality. We create a resilient and diversified economic base that enhances the vitality of our communities. We aim to attract and develop a skilled and talented workforce. We collaborate with the state, cities and towns, regional organizations, and the private sector to strengthen our economy. Some of our partners are right here in the room that have worked with us on good stuff, and so thank you very much for that. And then financial strength and stewardship. We maintain a long-term positive financial position by balancing revenues and expenditures for operations, debt management, and capital investments. We steward the taxpayer funds efficiently and effectively to minimize the burden on taxpayers and create a competitive community and business environment. And we don't really have anybody from finance here to talk about that. I would just say that we're a strong AA rated county. We've reduced the primary property tax rate from $3.99 to this year it's $3.56. So we've made progress in working toward that goal. And then we have a very healthy financial stability reserve. It's probably around 30% right now. A lot of that money we do use as one-time or excess revenue to fund capital projects so that we don't have to bond and do bond issuances for them as much as we can. So thank you very much, and I'll pass it on to the next person. That would be James Smith.
And I don't like this picture, so I'm going to go through that pretty quick. So, good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. Just wanted to share with you kind of a snapshot of what's been happening in the county. We're obviously approaching 450,000 in population, growing quickly. You'll see our poverty level is below that of the state of Arizona, and largely because we're starting to create a lot of jobs here. And you see that snapshot, and again, welcome to our friends from Queen Creek. That LG project is really huge, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go on. So you can kind of see here where the concentration of economic development projects is happening. It's really happening at that 10-8 intersection. It has good rail access as well. So we're seeing a lot of development in the Casa Grande area, in Eloy and Coolidge, and they're mainly centered around three areas. One, the semiconductor supply chain. Really, we're seeing kind of that regionalism where the Intel expansion and the TSMC project up in North Phoenix is really driving some of the supply chain associated with that. So I'll go ahead and move on to the next slide. So, it's not just you, Leo, apparently. It's, you're getting you get to preview everything else. So you'll see these are kind of some of the major projects that we've had over the last 6 or so years, and they're really centered in that three areas: the semiconductor supply chain, electric vehicle manufacturing and batteries, and building materials. So if you total up CCP, Kanto, Air Products, Jinghe, and LCY are all in that semiconductor supply chain space. That's over $850 million of investment and over 550 jobs that will be created. We expect a lot of that to be online by 2025 when by then TSMC is expected to be up and running. In the EV and battery space, obviously Lucid and Nikola have been here for a while. When they're at full build out, that will be over $2.7 billion in investment and 8,000 employees. The LG factory, $2.8 billion in investment and 2,800 jobs. And then we're really kind of seeing kind of the full gamut where we're seeing the batteries, the electric vehicle manufacturing, but also interest in recycling of batteries. So Serba Solutions is a company that announced in Eloy, and that's a $25 million project and 110 jobs. Procter & Gamble's kind of our most recent large announcement. They just closed on their land late last week. That's a $500 million investment and 500 jobs. One of the reasons that we're really highlighting these companies and these jobs is we really want that multiplier effect. So you see what's happening with Intel and TSMC's expansions. They create other jobs. So those manufacturing jobs tend to create 2 to 5 or 7 in the semiconductor industry, additional jobs for everyone that's created. Just another thing I wanted to highlight, because electric vehicles require so much earth metals, the mining industry is really critically important, and you're seeing expansions in the Cactus Mine, the Florence Mine, and obviously Resolution later on down the line, hopefully with those approvals. So just kind of to go over some of the strategic goals, I'll leave this here for a minute. Some of the strategic goals for the county are to create more base industry jobs. Those are the jobs that can support families and create those additional jobs that we talked about. We also want to keep more of our residents employed in the county. So right now, about 78% of Pinal County residents leave the county to work. So that's really high percentages in Maricopa and Santan Valley. So right now, these are the latest numbers we have are from 2019, but there's about 97% of our residents here in Santan Valley are leaving the county to go to work. And you know, you might think, oh, well, maybe they work in Mesa or Gilbert or Queen Creek. No, it's a large percentage of people that are driving over 50 to 70 minutes. The vast majority of them go all the way into Phoenix. So again, we really are trying to help with the quality of life, create more jobs here locally where these folks can work. Just a few other things going forward. The Board of Supervisors created a job training reimbursement program. We're really limited in Arizona in the number of tools or the tools that we have to recruit these companies. When we're competing against states like Texas and Utah, we just don't have the tools. This is just one small thing that maybe we can help companies, and it really helps give back to our community as well. We're bringing those skill levels up. And while I'm on this topic, I'll kind of hit on the fact that we lag both the surrounding region and the U.S. as a whole in terms of bachelor's degrees and those with some college. So again, that's another goal, that we would like to see some kind of higher education presence in the county so that we can really bring those numbers up to closer to where the region is as a whole, to be really competitive for the jobs of the future. In District 2, we're really concerned with retail. There's about $1.3 billion in sales that leave the area every year. Those are sales tax dollars that are not staying in Pinal County to support roads, to support parks, all the kinds of services that we would want. There's largely going into Maricopa County. So we're looking for ways that we can shore this up. We just did a retail study. I won't bore you with all the results, but we don't have enough space. Right now, the land, we don't have enough land really dedicated to retail, and the land and the cost of buildings is really high right now in terms of the development costs. So we're limited, but we're looking at those things that we can do to bring some of those retail sales tax dollars back into the community. In District 5, Supervisor Surtee definitely would like to see us get a resort. He talks all the time about how Scottsdale has over 20 resorts, and you see the natural beauty there. It rivals anywhere in the area, so that's one of the things that we're actively looking at, is for some of those recreation opportunities and resorts in that area, which I think will help the area as a whole. I want to just go back to something Leo said. Economic development really is driven by transportation. You can see it in the Phoenix Valley. The 303, when it opened, just exploded in Goodyear in that area with distribution. Phoenix Mesa Gateway, when the Santan freeway extended into Phoenix, exploded again because it was a quicker opportunity to get goods and services into California. So transportation is going to be critical. 469 funded some local roads that would have connected a lot of the employment that you saw. It also had plans for the north-south freeway that would have really connected workforce to where a lot of the employment is going right now. It would have really provided a lot of opportunities economic development-wise. So it is critical that we get that done. Another thing that's critical for the area, I think, is having housing that's affordable so that people can live close to work for quality of life purposes, and so that we're helping support these companies. So we need to make sure that they have training, the education, and a place close by to live that they can afford in order to help support these companies coming forward. With that, I think I'll turn it over to Brent.
These guys are trying to get back to work. I don't know. Who would have thought a little gadget would be so complicated, but all of us are having difficulty. First off, I want to give a shout out to the fellow Lions in the room. You're looking sharp in your yellow vests. The second thing I wanted to say is I have a group of people from community development. My name is Brent Billingsley. I'm the director of community development. I have Paula and Todd and Gilbert here with me. If you have questions that you need more detailed answers regarding community development, we'll stay around after the meeting and you can ask us some questions. I'm going to be fairly brief. I think James used my time. It's been a very busy year for Pinal County, as with most of all the government entities in the state of Arizona. Specifically from our perspective, we processed almost 3,000 single-family permits this year. You're probably thinking to yourselves, what does that mean? Well, that by itself means about 10,000 new residents that have come to this county in the last year. And one might think, great, that's awesome. But then if you look at James's slide and you see these employers and how many jobs they're creating, it sure looks like we need to speed up that growth and additional residential units. With them comes the retail and hopefully enhancing our tax dollars as we move forward. In case you're wondering what final plats and tentative plats are, those are planning level documents, entitlements to create more subdivisions. We approved 79 final plats this year. I think that's the second most ever approved by Pinal County in terms of entitlements. And we've got a whole bunch in the workflow, including the 40 tentative plats that were approved last year that will likely become final plats this year. So every subdivision is divided up into individual lots, and the engineering takes place to build all the infrastructure for those lots, including utilities, roadway, drainage, et cetera. It's a very intensive process. This is James's favorite number. We set an all-time record this year for site plans. We approved 135 site plans. What's that mean? That's commercial development primarily, but that's job creation. This is non-residential. This is either industrial or commercial projects. This is an all-time record for Pinal County, as well as 52 zoning cases. The interesting numbers from my perspective that aren't shown on this slide that are very important is just for single-family homes, in terms of the taxable base in Pinal County, we added about $250 million in value just in residential homes in this last year from the construction. One might say, yeah, but we're kind of in a downturn, it looks like, in terms of the economy. Pinal County is not seeing that. I pulled some numbers up for you today. Year over year, Pinal County's single-family permits are down 11%. Up until December, we were only down 9%. 4 months of the last year, we were the fastest growing government entity in Arizona. That's faster than Maricopa County. That's faster than the city of Phoenix. We're still third. But we are seeing a slowdown in residential permits. Just for some examples, year over year, Apache Junction's down 71%, Casa Grande's down 49%, Coolidge is down 38%, Florence is down 76%, Maricopa is down 36%, and Queen Creek's down 36%. So it's probably a sign to come that we're going to see a little bit more of a dip in terms of those residential single-family permits, but we think that will turn around in the near term. What are some of our goals for the Community Development Department in the next year? You're going to see a continuing trend here. James and I have done a really good job of causing problems, and we're leaving it up to Joe and his team to solve those. With all of that growth, infrastructure is incredibly critical. Not just the roads and the freeways, but also the utilities. We have some utility partners in the room with us today. The drainage and flood control districts, there's a lot of infrastructure work that has to happen to support that and to create shovel-ready sites for James. We've done a few things in the recent past that have really helped, and we can go farther. Online permitting. During COVID, the county made a real emphasis in terms of having online permitting and protocols. We're about 90% done, but there are some of our online permits that some of our permits are still not available online. We're going to work on that. One of the things that's been requested is we have a one-stop shop format at the county. Folks can come in, whatever they need from a development perspective or a public works perspective, to one counter and acquire permits. What we found is the electronic permitting is great, but there's still a large portion of our customers that either aren't comfortable or don't have the infrastructure necessary to use the online protocols. So we're setting up a new system now where folks can come in person and we'll help them facilitate an online submittal. So that's something that we're going to incorporate this year. And most importantly here, we're currently updating our zoning code. So anybody who's a planner in the room, they're probably going, oh no, update the zoning code. It's quite an effort. The county started on this road in 2012. We're getting incredibly close. So here in the next few months, you're going to be seeing in the paper and through media that the zoning code legislative update is going to be available for public comment. So we sure hope that when that occurs, you folks download that, take a look, tell us what you think about that document. Back to Joe solving our problems. We also don't just focus on building houses and building businesses. We work on building a county. And infrastructure is a key component. There's a lot of coordination that occurs there, not only with the utilities, but roadways. And in this area, with all of the houses being platted and permitted, there's been a distinct focus on the Tier 2 of the north-south corridor in coordination between our departments, the extension of the State Route 24, which we've seen the benefits of as of recently when it's open, and a new project, which Joe's going to talk about that we've been spending a lot of time on here recently, which is what we call the Central Arizona Parkway, which is a high-capacity corridor through this area to try and help with some of the challenges in terms of movement of people. So with that, that's all I have for this morning. Thank you.
I know it. I'm scared to touch a button here. Gotcha. There we go. Oh, I touched the one. I think you guys are setting us up. There we go. Skip that one. Okay. Jumped right over that. So quick intro. Name's Joe Ortiz. I'm with Pinal County. I'm with Public Works Deputy Director. Been in that role approximately 2 years. Also have with me Chris Wanamaker. He's our county engineer. He has a big role over there to play with what's going on here. So I'll hopefully dive into just a quick touch on this. But before I do, I kind of want to back up and maybe jump on that same soapbox that Leo was on a minute ago about how we fund infrastructure in roads. He mentioned, the RTAC that didn't pass. Mainly the RTAC set up for connectors, arterials, new road infrastructure. And how do we get the 24, like Brent said, or the Parkway? That's that kind of dollar for that new big type projects. Special revenue, like Leo mentioned, is the HERF dollars, the half-cent sales tax. That's another revenue source. The HERF dollars, another soapbox moment here. HERF dollars are your gas tax. So basically, if you go to Maricopa County and buy your gas, you're supporting Maricopa County. So that dollar doesn't get recycled back in Pinal County. So buy your gas here, please. You help us. And then, as he mentioned, the half-cent excise tax. That's going to be a challenge. Hopefully, we can get that challenge taken care of with that passing, because that dollar is meant for the existing roads that we have out there, that pavement preservation, those potholes, those blowouts. That dollar is critical to what we do. Just give you that perspective. We have 2,200 miles of road that we maintain in Pinal County, approximately. Out of that 2,200, we have approximately 1,200 that are existing paved today. So with that challenge, that half-cent sales tax that we've been getting, it generates about, here lately, about $12 million per year, approximately. So the challenge is we have an inventory of all our existing roads, and we give it a grade with pavement condition index. That pavement condition index, we call it a 64. A 64, just to put it so you have a mind of what these grades are, it puts it about a C minus or a D. So overall, that's what we have. And when we run our models on what it will take to keep at least a C minus or a D, we need about $13 million per year. So reality is we don't have enough just to keep that D. It's gradually going down as time goes. So our challenge is to get that Band-Aid to stop the bleeding as best we can. So we have to get creative every once in a while, and we're in that process of trying to get creative, looking at different scopes of work. There's a recycle existing pavement that I think might help us extend the life of our roads, plus we're able to do it at a cheaper dollar. So that's what we have to do. We have to do that creative thinking on skinning this cat a different way, That's the only way we can make it. So, enough off of that soapbox. I'm going to jump to the slide. I won't hit all of them. I'll just hit some of the bigger point ones. The big one I would probably talk to you about is Meridian Road, and that one is with great partners from the town of Queen Creek. We were able to, or still in the process, we're not 100% complete, but there are certain phases of this 5.5 mile corridor through there that will help tremendously with that area as far as pushing traffic through. Like I said, it's not 100% complete yet, but it's shortly coming right down the road. Hopefully by, hopefully this fiscal year sometime. Cross our fingers. No more rain. Another big point I'd like to take a look at is with this growth, number 2, traffic signals. I've been with Pinal County for 30 years. When I first came on board, we had like literally 4 or 5. Now we have 9 that we're in design for right now, just in this area alone. So that tells you the kind of growth that's going on in this area. And then just real quick before I have to go, I just want to touch base on the State Route 24 Central Park, Arizona Parkway that Brent mentioned. We were lucky enough to get a $15 million grant from the state for right-of-way acquisition that will be utilized for this portion of 24 between the existing Ironwood to hopefully at least take us to the CAP location that'll connect us into the parkway someday. Our next phase of this is trying to get the parkway itself, which is right here. And that we're not at the point of this is 100% alignment because we're trying to work with our partners, our developers, our utilities, all the players that are involved to make sure everybody's okay when we pull the trigger to make this happen. But from State Route 24 to the Ocotillo alignment, we are very comfortable. We have a design moving right now that's probably not going to change a whole lot. So that's our goal, is to take the lead on at least those 2 legs of the 24 to the CAP, and then from that intersection down to Ocotillo and really put the pedal to the metal. That we're hoping to start construction, Chris, in 24? That's our goal. That's lightning quick when it comes to these types of projects. So just to give you that perspective. And I do have copies of this map, so feel free to come and grab one. Like I said, I don't really have time to go through each individual one, and I'm sure you have other questions on your specific locations. I'll be here, Chris will be here, we'll have cards, so throw us your questions, we'll try to answer. If we don't have it, we'll get the expert that does. Thank you.
Let's see how this goes.
Careful.
I don't like that picture. I like this picture better. So my name is Jerry Roll. I'm the Director of Elections. I don't know if we can really say that elections had highlights. We had lights. 22 brought a sea change to the elections department. The loss of 2 directors and all but 1 employee who had any elections experience in over just a year led to a number of challenges. Those are challenges that I and my staff are determined to meet and overcome. As is often found when there is adversity, shortfalls and gaps become apparent. But you know, adversity also gives you the opportunity to critically analyze and assess the strengths and needs of an organization from the ground up. 22 highlighted the need for comprehensive training. My staff and I cannot meet the complexities of the election process without a thorough understanding of all facets of what we do. We quickly realized that we lacked an updated roadmap to assist us in navigating what has become the unique world of elections and its systems. It is important that every organization have procedures. It is doubly so important in elections. Interestingly, 22 also brought to the forefront the disability that the Elections Department has suffered from, and that is its physical plant. The space and design to handle 73,000 votes cast in 2014 is wholly unsuitable for the 146,000 votes that were cast in 2022. And remember, those were a two-card ballot. Our vision and goals for the Elections Department in 2023 include strengthening the election process. We believe we can do this by accurate ballots in the quantity necessary to ensure everyone wanting to cast a ballot can. Accurate tabulation and reporting. Transparency. My own personal goal is to invite the electorate into elections so that they can have a closer look at this very important function and likely even offer some ideas for improvement. To achieve this goal, we at the Elections Department believe that we have to work closely with all candidates and jurisdictions to ensure accuracy in contests appearing on the ballot. We believe we need to avoid single points of failure. We need to ensure that multiple people are trained in multiple tasks and that we have checks on all of those people in all of those tasks. We need to ensure that all individuals handling elections, from staff to poll workers, inspectors, and marshals, have the training and tools to be successful. We need to, most importantly, implement an ongoing audit feature through early voting and election day voting so that all votes are accurately counted. We have already begun working on a step-by-step, day-to-day procedures manual for the Elections Department and its staff. We believe it will become a blueprint for having a successful election. That's our goal. Last, we are very grateful and thankful to the Board of Supervisors and to county management for acknowledging our limited physical plant and making plans to give us a facility that will better serve the elections in Pinal County, and it's what you, as residents of Pinal County, richly deserve. And that's all. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm really afraid to touch that thing. Hey, I've been married for 30 years. I know that you guys are way better than us. There we go. And it stayed. My name's Matthew Thomas. I'm here on behalf of Sheriff Lamb, who is currently in the air headed to Hawaii to spend a little bit of time with his family. As you guys know, he's had a difficult holiday season, and he took some time off, much needed. So this morning, he told me what I was doing. I'm here talking to you. So these bullet points are great bullet points, but I'm just going to talk frankly through them with you. What they equal is, I've been with the county for 30 years now, coming up on 30 years in a couple of months, and I've watched us grow from just a small rural county into what we are now, and I've watched Queen Creek. I've been in Queen Creek since 1987, and I've watched what Queen Creek in the Santan Valley has become. And so as we go through these bullet points, I'm not going to go through them point by point. What I'm going to tell you is you have a county that has a government with a synergy that has come so far from where it used to be, and the departments work together so well, better than I've ever seen. And I've served in many different roles in my agency, and now as second in command to Sheriff Lamb, I'm responsible for budgeting, operations, all of that type of stuff. And so as we move through that stuff each year, We deal with all the stuff that everybody else deals with: personnel issues, recruitment, retention, getting employees, finding employees, meeting the strategic goals of the county. And if you don't know, public safety, I would say infrastructure and public safety are the two main things, because when people look to come to Pinal County, they want to know they're going to be safe, and they want to know that they're going to be able to get places. So roads are very important to them. They want to get around, and they want to be safe. We're the safe part. And so what I can tell you is that when Sheriff Lamb took office and we moved into these roles, we changed our way of thinking, and we started to break out of the typical boxed-in government way of doing things and way of thinking. We moved more into a business model. We partnered, we rebuilt bridges with county departments and ensured that we were working together collaboratively, and ensured that we are always asking. PCSO is always asking from the county, we need this, we need this, we need this. But the one thing we do much better than we used to is we give for all the take. And so there are times when we ask for things and the county says, we want to help you, but we need to help this area first. And we're all in on that, and we try and help those areas. So going through these, the low crime index, why that's important is because people want to be safe. So we have a lower crime index here than you'll see around most of the state, which means Pinal County as a whole is safer for people to live and work and play. We've done that with a lower jail population. So what does that mean? We're not putting as many people in jail, but we're still accomplishing safety. And so what that means is that our deputies out on the road, our jailers who are working in the jails, they have community connection, and they are working with their community, because the best community policing you can get is you, the community, policing yourselves. And we just come in when we're needed, and that's kind of the model that we're operating under. We have been having some great success with the legislatures. The legislatures have started to realize the power of the sheriffs and the office of the sheriff. And so our sheriffs around the state are also working together better than I've ever seen it. And they're working together to accomplish common goals. And one of the goals we had was more people. We needed more staff. And so DPS was getting raises, Phoenix getting raises, all the competition was getting raises. So the legislature put in a raise for us, and that was at the sheriff's urging and the sheriff's request. Not our sheriff, all sheriffs working together. And our sheriff happens to be the president of the Arizona State Association this year, so he's heading that up, a lot of those moves. Our social media reach is huge for us. There's not a lot of younger people in here, and I know, like, I'm 50, and social media was a thing I really had to learn. But our agency, we have our PIO Lauren in the back, she was in the media industry. Our agency wanted to shift that, and we wanted to engage more, and we did. We are #1 in the state for public safety agencies. We have the most followers over Phoenix PD, over DPS, which really pisses DPS off. They don't like that. We love it. And we are #3 in the nation, only behind NYPD and the FBI. So our social media is, yeah, thank you. Our social media is a big deal for us, and you know, we get, as I walked in here, somebody said, "Is Fridays with Frank here?" And I said, "No, Fridays with Frank is not here." But the reason that's important is because we engage with our community, and we engage with the people who not necessarily want to use our services, but know that we are there for them. And so that's important for us, and it goes back to the whole recruitment and retention, because Sheriff Lamb and I sit down with every uniform we hire. We sit down before we hire them to have a final interview to see who they are. And 90% of the time, if we get people from out of the area, they're coming here to Pinal County because they said, "We like what you stand for, and we like what's going on in your county." And so that's a big deal for us. As we move forward, I talked about the grants already. The budget, when we took over, was not so good. When we took over in our roles, we were about $3 million in the hole. through the past couple of years, and with a lot of help from Maine County on guidance, and that's another piece that's huge for us. The Office of the Sheriff, if you don't know, as a taxpayer, has the ability to just operate and tell the county, here's our bills, pay them. But we don't operate that way. That has been done in the past by past sheriffs. We partner with the county to ensure that we are good stewards of the money that we get for our budget. And we have, the first year was tough because we walked into being over budget. And every year since then, we've chipped away at it. And the last 3 years, we've been under budget. So that was a big deal for us, and that continued in 2022. So as we move forward in 2023, those are real long points to say this. We're going to continue on our path to be good partners with everybody we work with. We're going to continue to engage our community and be as transparent as possible with our community and engage them. And what people like is discussions. They don't like to be shut out by their government. So when we screw up, we tell them. When we have successes, we tell them. And we just share in all of that. And we're going to continue being open and engaging, and that's led to our success. And so we hope to continue that success. And then operating within our budget. Like I said, we're good stewards, and so we plan on continuing to operate within our budget and work with the county to make sure that we're all accomplishing the same goals to get to where we need to be. And that is it. Oh, no, see? I had it.
Stay there.
I tried to help her, and
Oh, I love you for that. Good morning. I am Mary Ellen Shepherd. I have the privilege to serve as your Deputy County Manager. And I'm going to tell you, I know I have the most important job of everyone here. I do. Not because I'm building the roads, and not because I am keeping the community safe. My job is to help take care of those who do. And we know if we don't take care of those who serve, they cannot serve you in the way that you deserve. So thank you all for the privilege of this most important role. What I'm going to share with you today, though, is this role in my many years of serving is by far the most challenging I've ever experienced. And I've been involved in human resources and working with people for many years. But we're in a new ball game right now, and that has changed the way we do business and needs to change the way we move forward. I'm telling you, I have in many ways failed these incredible public servants. We have over 2,000 employees, which is more than we've ever had. Yet we also have hundreds of vacancies. As you heard James talk earlier, 78% of Pinal County workers are going into Maricopa County to work. That means they don't have the people they need to deliver the services that are growing exponentially daily. Securing talent, unfortunately, what we're faced with today is far more recruitments and far less qualified applicants coming to ask for employment, seek employment. We're also faced with a tremendous skills gap. The talents, the experiences, the know-how needed also is unprecedented. So even when we do have individuals coming in, their ability to do what's necessary today is challenging for us. Then you layer on top of that, one of the skills gaps that we are experiencing is the basic social skills. When you think about what happened with the pandemic and people worked from home or virtually, that diminished our ability to engage with each other in the workplace and in our community. Unfortunately, the Great Resignation and the Great Reshuffle is not over. People are still very mobile when it comes to employment. Retention is a concern. Employees are demanding hybrid or virtual work. Those of us in public sector employment don't have the luxury. You can't build a road from home. And the last time I saw a deputy arrest someone from the comfort of his own living room, was in my dreams. Our workforce, candidly, is exhausted. The pandemic took a toll, along with the growth. So we are working hard to remember to put our own oxygen masks on first. That's a part of your county government today. People want healthier, values-driven, inclusive, and growth-minded employment. What do we need to do about that? We need to be creative. We need to be innovative. I could just look at Chief Thomas and say ditto, and that's the beauty. I shared the negatives, but I get to look at Chief Thomas and others in this room and say, the good news is we know what works. We know by shifting our focus to focus on employees and the meaningfulness of our work and to introduce creativity and social media and, most importantly, connections matters. It will bring us the quality people we need to do the job. We need to leverage our networks. And that's why I look to each of you and say, you are our network. We're your company. There's no separation. You're our network. The more you talk about the county as a place to be employed, a place where work is meaningful, the more success we will have on bringing in the talent we need to, again, serve you in a way you deserve. We are now pursuing the non-traditional candidate, changing the way we do business, bringing in trainees, creating opportunities for growth. All of the things James talked about that's necessary in our community to support our employers, we are doing and need to do for your company, Pinal County. We have to change the process. Everything we've done, everything we do is based upon decades-old merit rules, merit systems, strategies. It does not work. So we want to maintain merit principles, but adapt in a way that's innovative and exciting. And we need to do that together. I focused on our employees, and I'm going to shift slightly, also piggybacking on what Chief Thomas spoke about. In order to draw people to Pinal County, we have to have a place people want to come to. And that means caring for our community and often focusing on the most vulnerable in our community, and that includes our justice-involved population. So as we look at those who create the greatest risks, we're mindful in terms of the reentry programs to focus on those risks. And we know simply jailing individuals or placing them in prison will not achieve long-term public safety. And a one-size-fits-all approach will not reduce the number of fentanyl deaths we are experiencing, will not reduce the incidence of mental illness and the impact it has on our safety. So our programs are focused on what are the true risks, what are the needs, and how can we collectively be responsive in a way that makes sense. People, that's our business. I'm going to close with this. How many of you are familiar with the term Sherpa? What's a Sherpa? A guide? Anyone else? They do the hard work on mountain climbs. Exactly. But I tell you what, if you ask a Sherpa what do, they won't tell you, I'm a guide. I provide the resources. I do the hard work. You know what they'll say? They'll say, I make the impossible possible. I create the experiences of a lifetime. We are public servants, and when you ask us what we do, the only right answer we should ever give you is we make life better. Thank you.
Okay, now, she did the button correctly. I just want to, and so did I. Look, oh my God. No, I didn't. Okay, there you go. So now we're going to have a little question and answer time. So we've got, what, 15 minutes or so? So who out there has a question for one of our esteemed guests here? Oh, yes.
It's a real easy one. Are these slides going to be available on the county website and if so, where?
That is not anything I have any clue about. Tricia. Yeah, that's a tough question. God, right off the bat. Tricia, yes, no, maybe? That was, okay, made it easier. Another question. Anyone have a question? That's right. She's my Sherpa. So, yes, ma'am.
I'm from the Cimarron Trails Mobile Home Park and on Germain and Ironwood, and I'm wondering what the status of the LG plant is.
Who would like to take that? Leo, James, you got it.
They're still in the process of finalizing and working through exactly what the site and scope will be like. I think Town of Queen Creek maybe has a little more detail as they go through some of their site planning process, but they are still formulating what their final site is going to be developed to.
Another question, to the back, and then we'll come back here.
My question is we're building all of these houses, we're guaranteeing people they have 100 years worth of water, but where's the water coming from?
That's a great, who wants? Yes, who wants that one? We need Supervisor Miller on that one.
Well, I'll do my best.
Jump in.
Water is a very complicated topic. That's why it's in the Arizona Republic every week in terms of water and water sustainability. In this particular portion of the county, the reliance on those resources is on the old Johnson Utilities, which is EPCOR, as well as the town of Florence. I used to be the city manager of the town of Florence. The town of Florence actually has a pretty broad and deep water portfolio to be able to handle the growth that's planned for the town of Florence. EPCOR similarly has been working very hard not only on managing its resources that it currently owns, but acquiring outside water resources. Our friends from Queen Creek are in the room, and they have also done an excellent job of acquiring wet water or alternative sources outside of groundwater. As far as the health of the aquifer, there's two different AMAs in this portion of the county. There's the Phoenix AMA and there's the Canal AMA. The challenges are well documented in terms of 100-year water supply in the Canal AMA. That falls in areas generally south of Arizona Farms Road, and a portion of that is in Maricopa's jurisdiction. This area of the Phoenix AMA is in better shape than some portions of the Canal AMA. But I assure you, there is a lot of participation from Pinal County as a government, as well as from the supervisor's office, with our utility partners, a couple of which are in the room here today, to make sure that there's a sustainable water supply for Pinal County going forward for existing residents as well as growth. Hopefully that helps.
Okay. Supervisor Goodman. Sure. I've been told.
To further in that discussion, as many of you know, Johnson Utilities did a poor job of reclaiming some of their water when it came from their treatment plants. And they did I used the word piss one time before, my granddaughter called me on it. But the reality is that's what they've done in the years past. And so with EPCOR, and then also the town of Queen Creek and some of the things that, the innovation that they've been doing. We've got a legislative bill right now that will allow the county to get in and help participate financially to help back some of these projects that are out there. And so there's many things that we are as a county looking at, the opportunities that have been missed to be able to put water back into our aquifer, number one. Then there's an active role by all the water companies, including the City of Queen Creek, City of Florence, and the City of Apache Junction, to help. You're absolutely correct. We do need other water resources coming here, but we also need to look at and capitalize on the resources that have been available all along, and that's something that we're doing right now. The other part is to look at the other options that we have. SRP right now is looking at increasing the dam on Bartlett Dam, which feeds into the Salt River. And so the CAP canal undergoes that. There's a lot of things that are out there that we're looking ahead. A lot of the water companies and everybody else is looking ahead into these projects. So to your point, to your question, the 100-year water supply on many of the projects that have already been approved, many of these have been approved for several years now. More that's coming down have already been approved. So the water supply has already been established, that there's a 100-year water supply for a lot of the construction and things that are coming on here. But if we're going to continue to grow in new places, we've got to provide additional water.
One more, and County Manager Lou.
I would just try to add some color and give you, at the end of the day, there's going to be a combination of three things that we're going to need to do to solve this. And to your point, it's a 100-year look, and so we do have some time, and we do have groundwater available that does buy us time. But the three things are going to be, there's going to be new sources that are going to be needed, and there's a variety of ways that's going to happen. One of the long-term solutions that's being talked about, of course, is desalinization, whether that comes from the West Coast, California, or Mexico. Those things are being worked on and being worked out. That'll be a major source. We're going to need to recharge and recycle more, and potentially recycle to the point of reuse in addition to recharging. And then we're going to need to make conservation efforts. It's really going to be a combination of all of those things and technology that move us forward. That, as we see in other industries that use a lot of water, they're figuring out ways to use less. They're figuring out ways to recycle and recharge those waters. So at the end of the day, it's very complicated, but those three things will all be involved.
Okay, and I had a question from the middle of the room, right? Yes, I'm coming. Oh, you get this.
I appreciate all of you who have spoken today. It gives a more clear picture of what's actually going on. Not very many people understand all the work that you do, so I applaud you all. Thank you for your work. The other thing is, my personal focus in Pinal County is building community. And I know that community centers have been spoken about and dealt with. We had an assessment done by a company, I don't recall their name exactly, but a partnership evaluated properties that could house community centers in Pinal, and specifically Santan Valley. I just want to emphasize that I think that this is a way to draw our community together. Thank you.
Was there a question in there?
There was not a question,
okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Oh, right here.
I have a question for Mr. Billingsley. In your highlights, you list 29,000 single-family homes and also the tentative plats and what else was there? The site plans. Do you have anything that breaks out where within the county these all are? I'm assuming a lot of it is more in this area versus elsewhere.
I didn't bring anything with me today. This isn't working, but I'm live. I didn't bring anything with me today, but I will tell you, for quite some time, it was primarily all focused in the Santan Valley area in terms of the growth of Pinal County. But over the last 6 to 7 months, we've seen a whole lot more of a shift towards the Casa Grande area. Saddlebrook is very active. Again, it was active a lot in the early 2000s and then slowed down a little bit. Saddlebrook is very active. And most recently, we've had several cases that have gone to Planning and Zoning Commission that are about to go to the board. The areas south of Maricopa, a lot of entitlements being done in the areas south of Maricopa right now. One of those developments is over 9,000 units that we just met with a few weeks ago. But in terms of the site plans, I would say the vast majority of those site plans are going to be in this area in Casa Grande. And the permits are fairly well spread out. There for a while, it was primarily in Santan Valley, but it's throughout the county now. Hopefully that helps.
Is there something on the website that we can look at to, like, is there, what do they call it, heat map or anything like that available?
We don't have a heat map. What we do is we have some GIS coverages that shows the subdivisions that have been approved, and that's available on the website. And then if you get with Gilbert, raise your hand, Gilbert. He's going to give you a card when we're done. He'll give you some personal attention.
Okay, thank you. Are there other questions? We're in the back. Here I come.
Just a quick question. I do have kids in this area, and we are out in this area. I've been here for over 20 years, and we moved to this area because we wanted to be away from the city. We like the country feel. We like the being able to hunt and to ride ATVs and being out in the desert and being safer, which thank you to our sheriff's department. They do make that. A lot of things that you guys are talking about bringing into this area, to me, tells me that we're trying to citify this area, and that makes always it less safe for our children, less safe for all of us who moved out here purposely to get away from all of that. We also are trying to bring in more of lower income housing and more affordable housing and stuff like that. But as our sheriff had told us prior to this, one of the reasons why we are able to have our border problems skipping over Pinal County is because we don't have anywhere to house all these people. So my question is, how are we going to prevent this not being the safest county with everything coming in? It sounds like most of our problems are because we have such a fast growth the way it is with our water and with our roads, with all of those things. So tell me how, with all of this planning to bring all of this stuff in, how you guys plan to keep our safe counties and to keep these problems away from our children and the rest of us who moved out here for that purpose.
I think the easy answer, it's a difficult question. I think the easy answer is you got the right team of folks to do it, and we work together to have a positive outcome. In terms of the urbanization of Santan Valley is already urban. Santan Valley has been urban for more than 10 years. Santan Valley is the largest city in Pinal County. It's just not a city, with over 120,000 people. With that comes demands. With growth comes additional commercial growth, which is good for the tax base, additional industrial growth, which comes with jobs, which is a good thing. But in order to maintain that level of growth, and hopefully that came through in my presentation, you have to have options for folks. You have to build the infrastructure necessary to serve it. You have to have the resources to keep it safe. You have to have the jobs for the folks that live there, but you also have to have the housing options for the workforce to be able to live in your area and stay in your area. It is true that I think more than ever, I've been around Pinal County my entire career, more than ever, there are a lot more workforce housing type products out there in terms of build to rent, multifamily housing, townhomes, apartments, these types of things. With interest rates being as high as they are, and with the type of and the number of jobs coming to this county, it's not just Santan Valley, but it's all of Pinal County that's going to continue to grow and urbanize. And the one thing that I explain to folks, I talk to folks for a living regarding development and and folks being resistant to additional growth, you have to remember it's a two-sided coin. If you want the things that people appreciate in terms of the jobs, local jobs, the retail opportunities, you need to have the rooftops to be able to support it. And secondarily, those folks that own that property being developed, they have rights too. So each individual property owner, including myself, I'm a taxpayer in Pinal County, I have rights, but those folks that own the property have rights too, and they purchase that land to enhance and continue to grow the county. Hopefully that helped.
Chief, did you want to answer some safety issues?
Well, we're cops, so we just constantly adjust. 2020 was very evident of that. Everybody else took a big break, and we pushed forward. Not everybody here. Government pushed forward. So for us, it's just adjustments on the fly. That's what we constantly do because we're constantly faced with problems every day. We have many problems every day that we face. Some are new that we've never seen before, so we have to adjust. So as we urbanize, and we know it's a thing, we're constantly increasing our workforce. I think in the past 6 years, we've probably increased our workforce about 11.5%, 12% for cops, keeping you safe, for people working in the jail. And so that's what's going to happen. As the population increases, we're going to have to increase staff. We're going to have to increase how our methodology behind how we police is constantly going to change. But one thing I can tell you on the affordable housing thing is what you have to look at as well is, to Mary Ellen's point, we're trying to attract a workforce. And I can tell you, we have cops right now that, especially when we had that little boom about 6 months ago where prices were astronomical, we had people that wanted to live and work here, but they couldn't afford to do it. And so that's problematic, right? So if we don't have affordable housing, we're not going to be able to get those workforces here. Now, I'm not talking about, you know, Section 8 housing, and I think that's what you're referring to is government subsidized housing, because that's what people fear a lot because they think that brings crime, and that's not necessarily true either. It's all in the quality of how we police our community, how we engage our community, and how we as a community interact with each other. That's what's going to make us successful for the whole county. And I think, well, I don't think, I know, I've lived in Queen Creek, like I said, since '87. You're not going to stop growth. You're absolutely not going to stop it, because if you look at the Metro Valley area, because I lived in Phoenix before Queen Creek, there's nowhere for them to go. So they're going to come this way. You're going to have people coming to the East Valley that like this side because we're way better than the West side. And you're going to have people going west. And that's where everything is pushing. And now it's starting to push south. But of course, we have some reservations that will stop some of that growth. And that's another thing you have to look at is where are those reservations? Because I guarantee you Chandler, Phoenix area would have pushed further south already if the reservation didn't block that and push them this way. So I don't know that that answered your question, but I don't think it's all doom and gloom. We just have to adjust how we live. And you guys have to rely on this government. The things you're talking about wanting and enjoying can still be there in an urban environment, but we have to get it in place before we get that growth overrun.
I have time for one more question. And
Sorry, that means I talked too long.
You did. So, okay. Jeannie, here, hang on just a second.
I'd like to thank you all for the work that you put into not only our community, but making us feel that we're part of the community. I'm going to probably put you all on the spot, but it seems like you're running as a county and as a city government for the Santan Valley area. What would you guys recommend that we do moving forward so that we become our voice as a township or as a city? You know, does the county support us incorporating? Does the county look to us maybe trying to annex into the town of Queen Creek? We need to probably be more involved on our community level with the county to ensure that we are getting the adequate services that we want.
I got
Hi, Mike.
Yeah, I gave him the mic. It was like, give it up now, huh? Okay, we're done. You know, and this might be the good way to wind it up too. So, and thank you for that question.
See, I even put closing remarks up here, so you
Good,
just
good.
wind it down.
Let's
baby.
get rid of that picture, though.
Oh, I like it.
I've always said from the day one that this area needs to be, and I've always felt this very strongly, that it needs to have its own voice. It does need to be incorporated. And what that looks like at the end of the day, there's been so many law changes and everything else, and there's so many hoops that need to be jumped through and everything else. The bottom line is it needs to be talked about openly and with an open discussion with the community, with the people, and those that are wanting it to be invited in, to be a part of it as it moves forward. I don't think there's anybody on this panel, anybody from our county, that is opposed to helping in any way that we possibly can to help move that. I even think from our municipalities, Florence, Queen Creek, Apache Junction, Casa Grande. In fact, with one of the discussions we had with one of those municipalities, it was interesting to me, the comment that they made, it would only strengthen the ability of the municipalities here if there was an incorporation effort and it was successful. That it would give more to the entire state, more substance. You know, I think somebody have always said, I'm a conservative, I feel, and somebody once made the comment about how we need to shrink government. Well, I don't think that's what our forefathers meant. I think what they meant was to put government more on a local control with the individuals that are there. I really think that's what they meant, and that was the intent and everything else. Get it out away from the guys that don't even live here. I look at the Corporation Commission. I think I spent an entire year and a half, 2 years down there, and every one of those individuals that were on that commissioners had no clue, really, what was going on out here when it came to Johnson Utilities. They were so far removed from the situation. We need hands-on. We need people right here to be involved in these services and to be involved in what's going on. And so to that point, 100%, I don't think there's anybody here that would not disagree with that. So anything that we can do to help move it forward, we're here to help. When I first ran and I won the election in 2017, I got a phone call, or I wasn't quite in office yet, and I never forget this. And I think this is something for our staff and for other elected officials to think about. I got a phone call from a gentleman who was becoming a new state representative for my district. And he said, Mike, you and I are going to be taking office together. What can I do for you? I immediately responded with Meridian Road. Immediately. Within the first 3 months that gentleman took office, there was a bill that was drafted that required all of the entities that were involved, and there was 5 agencies, 6, when you looked at the state land department. So we had town of Queen Creek, Florence, not Florence, but Maricopa County, our county, Pinal, and Apache Junction, and then state land department. And that draw forced us to sit at the table and come up with a game plan to help move things forward. The thing that was irritating to me was Meridian Road had been in design since 2013. They had constructions and everything else to move that forward. And it never got done. But this state representative helped move things forward. From that time forward, the town of Queen Creek, and we tried to work with the other 5 agencies, but we ended up doing it together, them and us. And we fought the city of Mesa. That was the other one I forgot. We fought them to get that in there. And the reason why is because the CMC steel plant. They were concerned about their industrial side being affected in any way or form, which I don't blame them, but we were all about making sure that we don't affect our current employment opportunities. 80% of their workforce comes from the Santan Valley area. Think about that, 80%. They had over 300 employees at that time. They're doubling that amount now. And if they had that much, and the average pay for the people that worked at CMC Steel was $75,000. It's a huge salary. And 80% of their workforce was coming from this area. So that's where it all looked at what we needed to do for the demands that we have here. Good point. This area is already urbanized. We cannot stop growth. But what we can do is handle or look at where do we need to do? Elections department. The things that took place this last year, I'm telling you what, I was right in the middle of it. 2 of us, 5 of us. And the pivot and the things that the county's done, you know, and we're not the only county that had these kind of issues. I guarantee you that. The amount of money that we actually spend in our departments for elections, something so vital and important, it was crazy what we were doing. It was one of the cheapest budgets we had, I think. And we've made that adjustment, and now we're dumping money into it. We're building a brand new building so that we can house and coordinate the 2 systems together. The point I'm getting at is, yeah, there were some things that were talked about, but we've identified some of our problems now. Now we're getting to work, and we're moving forward, forward, forward. And that's what we're doing. And we've got the staff, and we've got the people, and we've got the commissioners or supervisors to help move this thing forward to where it needs to go. Water problems, case in point. You brought up the water issues. We've got one of our board members who is specifically appointed by the governor to be on our water on the entire state because of our water problems that we have here. We were the only county that was cut back in the state because of the water issues. I'm a native Arizonan. I remember when the CAP canal was even started and was even in discussion as a kid. And I'm sitting there looking at this, but there was a lot of details I didn't even know. So when they started the CAP canal and was bringing water from the Colorado River, the intent and purpose was to help relieve some of the pumping that was taking place here. And most people don't understand this, but when you look at what the concept was, while we were pumping groundwater here, the reservoir would fill up. That took place. So we were able to disperse the pumping of the water, and we've been using that. Now, we've got to make another adjustment. Our water tables are up. They really are. It accomplished what it needed to do. And so, and whoever said stop the rain, no.
Just don't get the road.
No, we'll figure, I'll come out there with the tarp. I'll hold it over your head, whatever we got to do. Don't stop the doggone rain or the snowfalls. We'll pivot. We'll do whatever we need to do. We're good at that. And you got a great team here as we're moving forward. And I am one proud son of a gun that has the opportunity and the privilege to be able to work at this. I look at whenever we first did the north-south, and then they moved it 6 miles away from Santan Valley, we were ticked. We presented to our staff and said, what are we going to do? This parkway is a result of that pivot. Now, you can't get any more creative than that with guys and women and people like this. We're in good hands. I can tell you that. And so with that, I just want to tell all of you, thank you. Did you have any more that you want to add? I'm it, okay. So with that, let's move forward. All right, thank you.